All right, all right. I'm gonna try to start doing my live streams right around this time every morning. I'm trying to pick a set time because some of you all know I have a part time job now, trying to make ends meet as a uh, victim of the last 4 years. Which is funny. Is a quick story before I jump into the news. So obviously, I work with a lot of younger people, and of course, they can tell how hard it is for me to walk. And the one young man said, "Well, why are you working?" Or I said, "Well, hard to make ends meet lately, so I have to work." He said, "Yeah, the last 100 years has been, or 100 hour, or 100 days have been crazy. I understand it with Trump being in office, why you have to do it." And I said, "Yeah, so the last 4 years really had nothing to do with it, just the last 100 days, moron." Nice kid, just he's drink the Kool Aid. So, anyways, I thought that was a cute story. Interaction with the younger generation at this new job I'm doing. It's hard to tolerate the youth anymore, people. So I don't know how y'all feel about the big beautiful bill, and trust me, I'm not exactly happy with it either. But the opposition from our own people just kind of pisses me off because I tried to explain this to somebody else not too long ago. They talk about, well, he's raising the debt. He's talking about us being in debt $36 trillion. And he wants to add to it. I try to explain something to somebody. When you have a company that's in trouble, and let's say somebody purchases it or they put new management in place, whatever. Sometimes you have to borrow money to get the company back on track, to make the company strong enough to be able to pay the money back in a far stronger, faster way, using new methods, new management, which is what we have. We have new management. So he's promising us that what we spend today, we'll get back tenfold through the years to come. And I kind of believe that to a point. I really do, to where I trust what's going on. You know, you, you got to swallow it and just accept it. And, you know, if the Democrats would be in power right now, they would probably be asking for the same amount of money or more, and it would get passed. You know why? Because those idiots vote in lockstep of each other. They don't have people who break ranks and want to vote with their conscience. The left swallows their whatever and votes whatever and however the party wants them to vote. Yeah, not the Republicans. I tell you, Republicans are weak. That's why I say it all the time. I don't call myself Republican anymore. I just call myself MAGA because we are a far different breed than the old school Republicans. Let's see. Sorry, my dog's bothering me. Get out. So what's this, Andy? The more they oppose it, the more I think it's actually a good bill. True, true that. But so Maria uh, interviewed Senator Scott and pressed him why he decided not to vote for the bill. And so I want to play that clip real quick uh, because she really did like call him out on a few things. It's like he's being hypocritical about shit. You claim you're doing it for this reason, but yet you didn't do these other things that would improve something, you just want to talk shit about the bill that you have in front of you when you did nothing to improve anything or any of the other deals like Doge. She talks in the video a lot about the stuff that they're not passing to, you know, codify these uh, cuts with that Doge wants to do. So I believe with the cuts that they're trying to make and with trying to bring manufacturing back to the country, because a lot of people, I got in a serious debate yesterday. This individual tried to tell me how bad it would be to bring manufacturing back to this country. I really don't know how we all live and grew up in the same country and have these massive difference of opinion or in points of view about this stuff. The young man obviously didn't understand economics, and I had to explain to him what tariffs were. He told me tariffs were bad. And I told him, I said, yeah, they are. They're bad for America. Before Trump got in office. And I explained why these new tariffs are good and what it'll do to bring back manufacturing in this country. And he said, why would you want to bring manufacturing back to this country? All you're going to do is because everybody has to have a living wage. Uh, Things would cost so much, nobody could afford it. I said, well, you just said if they have to give them a living wage, that means that they would have the income to be able to afford it. You just answered your own question with a question. Common sense does not run rapid in modern day youth anymore. What's this, Dave? I'm trying to read this. Guys, I don't know if you ever realize this, but I try to read the chat, but even with my glasses on, where because my computer's so far away, I have a hard time reading it. But let me see if I can bring it up on screen here. It will add over 3 trillion to the deficit. That it will. It's all a framed uniparty. Doge found ways. Where are the major cuts? I think that the whole lot is blackmail continuing. It's the norm, which is what I was just saying. Maria pressed Senator Scott that why ain't they passing these cuts that Doge is finding? Why ain't they doing that? They're not doing anything that would help alleviate some of the stuff that they're saying they don't like about the big beautiful bill. Now, me, I'm one of those people. I like, of course, I have OCD. Go down line item by line item and tell me why you need the money, what you're spending it on, and who's getting the money. And I want a complete description about what are you doing with this money, because that's been the problem with this government. Used to, well, if we need more money, we'll just raise taxes on the American people, uh, because all the left does is buy votes with your tax dollars. So they take the people who work that are paying taxes, and they take that tax money and they tell these other people, we're going to give you free money so you can stay home and not do anything. So who are you going to vote for? So it's always been about buying votes, not about what's good for the American people. Because what's good for the American people is to slap these lazy fucks in the back of the head and say, get up out of the chair, quit playing the video games, and go get a fucking job. Go find a wife or a husband and start a family, and you will be happier in the end. But no, they say separation, keep the sexes apart. Don't have children. That's modern day slavery. But we're going to bring in all these illegals because we need a boost in population. So, but yeah, you Americans don't have children because you don't have to, because we're going to bring in all these third world country illegals to work these non-skilled jobs and start popping out all these babies. But then what happens? Those people are loyal to the Democrats because they brought them to the land of milk and honey. They're not loyal to America. They're loyal to the Democratic Party. So I tell you, some days I get all excited and thinking we're doing good. Other days I get so pissed off, I really hate even talking about it. Sometimes I think I'm just wasting my breath, as not just me, but all of us, because we feel like no matter how much we yell at the top of our lungs, this is what we need to do, and nothing ever seems to change. President Trump is a man on an island because the Republican Party does not have his back. So what happens during, with midterms coming up? I don't know. But there are some good things happening. I want to play that video first, and then we'll jump up to the next topic after that. So, because I'm trying to be more structured. I'm trying to be more professional. Don't laugh, but I am. I'm trying to be more professional. So one of these days I'll get it right. The computer moves so slow. Okay, here we go. This is interesting. Really, I find it truly interesting. The gaslighting that senator's doing.
So much for being here. What specifically do you want to see to change your mind about this no vote you're talking about?
Well, first off, I want to be a yes. I want to get a bill done. I support President Trump's agenda: secure the border, build up the military, make the tax cuts permanent. And I think we've got to do all these things. But let's live in reality for a second. We're running $2 trillion deficits. If we follow the path of the House bill, we'll have close to, I think, $60 trillion worth of debt in 10 years. Okay, the American taxpayer has said they don't want to give us higher taxes. They don't like the taxes we have now. They're not giving us more money. What we've got to do is do what every family does. We've got to go through every line of the budget. It's not, look, you can say, I don't want to continue the Green New Deal stuff. I don't. I want to make sure Medicaid is taking care of poor kids and chronically disabled. I do. But the bottom line is we've got to look at every line in the budget, just like you do with your family. I did it as governor of Florida. I walked into a state that had not lived within its means for 40 years. I went through every line of the budget, every line. There's 4,000 lines. We had a written purpose for every line. That's what DOJ is doing. That's what we've got to do as senators, as House members. We've got to go through every line of the budget and say, we're going to get down to a balanced budget. We can do it. We can allocate these dollars and do the right things for the American public.
So what I'm asking is for some specifics, but let me just stay on DOJ for a second because you brought up DOJ. If you're so interested in DOJ, why did you and your colleagues not codify into law the DOJ cuts?
Well, first off, we haven't had the opportunity to vote on it in the Senate. I clearly would codify the DOJ cuts. I don't know why the House didn't do that. Look, I appreciate all my colleagues in the House working hard, but we've got a lot more work to do. So we've got to look at all the DOJ opportunities. But the reality is,
you will vote to codify the DOJ cuts.
6,000 lines.
You will vote to when given the opportunity. You will vote to codify the DOJ cuts when given the opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, of course, we haven't seen every one of them exactly what they are, but I'm into balancing the budget. We're not going to get inflation under control. We're an interest rate. That's what this the last election was about: securing the border and getting rid of inflation. Look at credit cards. Look at housing. all getting hurt because of higher interest rates. And by the way, logically, I don't know what's going to happen to interest rates, but when you have to refinance over $9 trillion for the treasuries, I think this year, and we're running $2 trillion deficits, who thinks it's really going to go down a lot? Who's going to be all the buyers of these bonds to get the interest rate down? So I think we've got to balance a budget. That's what will get interest rates down.
Senator, I find it rich that you are talking like this when, in fact, just recently we saw the House come up with $1.5 trillion in cuts and the Senate came up with $4 billion in cuts. Why was the Senate so low on cuts to be identified?
Well, the difference, that was the resolution to get the process started. That was a resolution just simply to get the process started. We've always committed that we're going to find more cuts in that because different than the House, when the Senate starts this, we can't be below any, and we have to hit every minimum. So historically, what they've done on reconciliation, they've just put in low numbers. But look, I don't know a public colleague I have that doesn't want to get to a balanced budget. I don't know any help to get a judge. So I think we can. I'm optimistic. It's going to take a lot of work, but I think we can. I think we can clearly get his big, beautiful bill done. I think we can clearly have fiscal sanity.
Okay, so tell me about that fiscal sanity. What's most important to you? Is it raising the debt limit? Is it the Medicaid cuts? Is it removing those IRA green energy credits in Biden's Inflation Reduction Act? And how come they're not all gone? By the way.
I think it's all the above. I think you've got to do those things. But even when we do those, we don't get to a balanced budget. So the only way we're going to do this is we're going to get to do this by going through every line in the budget. Now, my goal would be to not have to raise the debt ceiling because we balance the budget. That would be the best thing we can do. And that's what we should be doing.
So have you done it? Can you identify some specifics for us? They told us how much they're going to give us in revenues. Can you identify some specifics? Can you identify some specifics for us? Have you done it? Have you gone through every line in the budget? And can you today give us some specifics in terms of what needs to be cut to get you on board?
Maria, you cannot see a copy. Maria, you cannot see a copy of the budget. We do spending bills. We don't have budget bills.
How long have you been in the Senate?
Every line.
How long have you been in Congress? Right?
Well, I can tell you where I would start.
Thank you.
But you've got to get every line of the budget. So you've got to get rid of the Green New Deal. We had a 53% increase in spending in the last 5 years. So why don't we go back and say we're going to start with pre-pandemic spending and spend more. That's what with yourself. But go through. I would go through Medicaid. I would go. I mean, but do every line. You're not going to do enough if you just focus on the Green New Deal and you just focus on making sure Medicaid goes back to its original purpose.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be spending more money for able-bodied adults for health care than we are our poor kids.
Yeah. No, I
that makes
agree
no
with
sense
you.
to me.
I agree with you. And the Committee for a Responsible Budget says it's going to add $3 trillion to the debt, including interest over the next decade. What I'm trying to get at is what it's going to take for you to actually come around and say, OK, we've done our job. And are you considering the growth that President Trump's agenda will yield? We spoke with Kevin Hassett, the chairman of the Council on the Economy in the White House, and he said he's expecting a very strong growth number for the second half once the other parts of the agenda take hold, like deregulation. Listen to Kevin Hassett and give us your reaction. Watch.
Well, what's going to happen is there are going to be a lot of trade deals, and there's going to be clear clarity on the tax cuts, and then firms are going to lift off. But think about it. Even before that happened, we're getting really strong jobs numbers. First quarter capital equipment investment was north of 20%, one of the best quarters ever, because all of America knows that the golden age is coming and we got to start building stuff before everybody else gets in front of us. And so I think that you're going to look at a second half of the year that's way, way north of 3%, probably north of 4%, to get us one of the better years we've ever had. Because even with the uncertainty that you talk about, that I've written widely about over the last 25 years, even with that uncertainty, we've got strong jobs numbers and strong investment. And so once the uncertainty is lowered, then a liftoff from there is really going to be something to see.
Senator, your reaction.
Well, first off, Kevin's smart. I actually believe Kevin's right. I actually think we're going to grow our economy faster. That's exactly what I did when I was governor of Florida. I did the same thing. You grew the economy. It's still not enough to balance the budget. You still have to go through the budget and find the things that you can save money on. It will not be enough to balance the budget. I do believe the Trump agenda is a great agenda. I think Kevin's right. We're going to start growing faster, but we're running $2 trillion. $2 trillion a year. We can't have debt continue to outgrow our GDP, which is what's been happening.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Senator, what's the number that you want to see come out of this bill, this specific bill? Your colleagues have talked about cutting $2 trillion. Is it north of that you're looking for?
So what I want to get down to, I want the budget balance over the next 3 years. So to get that, we need to get the spending for the 26th budget cycle down to $6.5 trillion. Now, part of that's going to be through the reconciliation, which is mandatory spending, and part of that's going to be through our normal budget process, which will be in September, of discretionary spending. So we've got to do that, and then we've got to start holding the costs and do what Kevin has said. I really do believe that what the Trump agenda is going to do is it's going to grow the economy way faster.
Yep.
And so as we see that, we ought to be able to get to a balanced budget.
Okay. Look, that would be huge if you could actually achieve that. The question is, can you get number after your notifications by the end of July?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very optimistic we can get this done. We're having great conversations in the Senate, and I believe Republicans, both the House and Senate, want to get the Trump agenda done and want to balance the budget.
Senator, it's great to see you. We so appreciate your work, and we'll be watching your important work very closely in the coming weeks.
Quick question. They always talk about finding stuff to cut to balance the budget. They say this stuff after they vote against a bill. Now, I realize they have a slack work schedule, 3 days a week. What do they do with all their free time? Why have they not been already working on this? Even if they didn't do nothing the last 4 years as far as trying to get anything passed, but found these things that they could cut that would help balance the budget. Everybody talks, but nobody does. Our government is truly broken. I mean, even the so-called pro-Trumpers in our government, I think, are only telling Trump what he wants to hear, but never does anything. Morning, Dan. This is where I get so disappointed with our politicians. See, Senator Scott, he can talk a lot of shit, but he hasn't done anything. What's he done to do exactly what he's claiming should be done? What has he done to further that agenda to make those things happen? Because if all you're going to do is talk about this needs to be done, but whoa, hey, I'm not the one that's supposed to do it, but I'm telling you it needs to be done, but not by me, but it does need to be done. So I'm just telling you it needs to be done. So I'm the good guy, but no, I'm not doing anything about it to fix anything. I'm just telling you it needs to be done. So that's my job. I'm a politician. I tell you things, but I don't actually do anything. Yeah, Dave, where are the arrests? I was disappointed in Cash and Dan Bongino in that interview they did a week or so ago, where they talk about they seen the report. Epstein did kill himself. No doubt about it. But it looked like they said it like they were being held hostage when they said it. So these people, these two gentlemen, talked so much shit about being a patriot when they had no power. Now they have the power to do something, and they're telling us the same, because they're trying to say no matter how much MAGA wants to believe that he was killed by, conspiracy theory of whoever, it didn't happen. He killed himself. Dave, I am hating on Rick Scott because don't talk about it, be about it, do something. What proposals have you brought to the floor that would improve that bill? You just said something needs to be done. I don't like voting on a bill. We need to go by line item. You know what? The American, our budget is so huge. Our expenditures are so massive. that to do what he wants done, he said, "Oh yeah, we can get it done by July." Bullshit. Because they can't agree on nothing. They can't agree on what needs to be cut. They always say, "Yeah, well, oh, you know what? That's going to affect my area, so yeah, let's not cut that. But let's cut this over here." And then somebody over here says, "Whoa, whoa, 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 that'll affect my area, and I want to get voted back in, so let's not touch that." Uh, But I think if they have the balls to do it, the first thing they need to cut is all this frickin' foreign aid we give all over the world. I was always told it's good to be charitable, but don't give away your last dollar. You need to put yourself in a position to make yourself strong enough financially or however to be able to help other people. But if you're not and you can't, don't. Yeah, that's right, Andy. Time to slaughter dogs. you know, I say it all the time. I know I'm not a great communicator. I know the message probably isn't the best that it could be. I'm not a Carl. Um, I say what I say is the best way I can say it. And I'm glad you guys tune in and hang out. I really do. I appreciate that. I wish I had a magic wand I could wave to be able to say something that would get across somebody, to explain it in a way to where they go, aha, I get it now. So what seems obvious to me, I don't understand how it don't seem obvious to, like, say, somebody that's far left. I don't get it. I don't know what else to say to explain to somebody, look, it's we the people. It's not I, it's we. I don't know. I guess I'll just keep talking till someday maybe enough will hear it. But I'll probably be considered some kind of domestic terrorist because the Democrats at one point in time will be back in power. And if we don't make enough changes, oh, are we all going to pay for it? So bad. It'll be so terrible. It truly will be. And you know it. That's like if we don't win the midterms, it's inevitable after that point. So this changing changing the game will just turn into a hiccup in their plan. I think they knew they wasn't going to win this time. I think they figured, oh, we'll give this idiot 4 more years, but we're going to win midterms because they're not very good at winning midterms. And then we'll impeach him and we'll go right back to doing what we do. By then, they'll have a regroup because they're very good at regrouping, believe it or not. Right now, they seem lost and they seem like idiots. They seem like clowns, all these heels they want to die on. But they eventually will get it right. And the loyalist to their side is unbelievable. And they're willing to do anything necessary to push their agenda to where most people on the right are not. We want to voice our opinion, our concerns, then we want to live our lives and hope we voted the right way. Unfortunately, there's almost no right way anymore. Uh, that shiny city on a hill, the lights are dimming. Even in the position we are today, everybody thinks we're winning. And we are trying to win. We haven't won shit. We're trying to win because you want to know when I consider us actually winning? is after this 4 years, we have another MAGA slash Republican in the presidency for 8 more years, and hopefully 8 more years after that or whatever, and give the Democrats an opportunity to change. Maybe give the population an opportunity to change. Because it's all about culture. The left has been very good at manipulating culture. The right has not. Dave, yeah, yeah, that's the problem with our government is I don't think they even have an audit department anymore. Uh, because obviously with something like USAID that here's billions and billions of dollars, go spend it. Well, we don't care what you spend it on, just go spend it. And then the left makes sure it not just the left. I mean, politicians make sure that some of that money ends up back in their pockets. Now, I was told yesterday that Trump is a criminal and everything he's done all the way back to, and he called paying Stormy Daniels a bribe. Bribes are illegal. No, it's called doing business. It's called, I don't want you to tell our business. So here, sign a non disclosure, and here's $130,000. That's not a bribe. That's a payment for a service. The service is to shut the fuck up. It's not a bribe. It's not like he bribed to get uh, some kind of business arrangement done, or. But this young man that I was talking to think that Trump is guilty of all 34 counts, and that this coin that he's selling is uh, illegal, and that the plane that we're accepting that's going to the Air Force is just a smokescreen, that it's actually going to be Trump's plane after he's out of office. From what I understand, it's going to be going to the presidential library. I don't see how that's Trump's plane per se. It's just going to be put on display, I think, after it's decommissioned. But some of the most innocent transactions, the left has told these people that have drank the Kool-Aid that the most innocent transactions, there's a sinister plot behind it. The way to grift the country, get rich. And I try to explain to this young man that if you look what these politicians were worth before they got in office and what they are worth now or after they got out of office. Trump's one of the few politicians that lost over $1 billion just for being president. Didn't gain a dime. Lost over $1 billion in wealth. But yet he's the criminal. And I told him how AOC, after less than 8 years in Congress, is worth $29 million, a bartender. Didn't want to hear it because he told me Margie Taylor Greene also made millions of dollars because Trump told her to buy stocks when his stocks plummeted when he did these super high tariffs just to give his rich friends an opportunity to buy stocks low. But you know what? He didn't tell anybody to sell off their stocks. It's stupid. They did that to punish him. They didn't do that to help him out, because everybody thinks that the world's coming to an end. The stock market's crashing because Trump put high tariffs and everything. So the twisted manipulation of mind control that they tell these people, and it is just downright weird. And maybe I'm the one being fooled. Maybe Trump is fooling me. Maybe I drank the Kool-Aid. I mean, I don't think so, because way before Trump ever come on the scene about talking about or actually saying he's going to run for president, back when the Clintons were in office, I said we needed a businessman in office. I used to tell my mother that all the time. So my position on this about manufacturing and having a businessman run this country has been decades in the making, not since 2016 or 2015, but decades. So I like to think I didn't drink the Kool-Aid. I like to think that, you know, I drank the water, and it's clear. It's from a clear spring, and I see things clearly. And I see the negativity of the things that these politicians do. It's like when when Clinton did the NAFTA deal. I knew it. I knew, because business was booming in the late 80s, early 90s. Budget was balanced. Clinton got credit for it, but it took 8 years of Reagan and 4 years of Bush and a Republican House Senate to get that shit across. Then his second term, what happened? Shit started going downhill. People start getting laid off by the end of his term. And then, of course, 9/11 hit. Nobody expected that. Or did they? Did they do that to throw something off the rails? Who knows? That's a conspiracy theory. I don't even dig deep into the weeds of that stuff. But then what happened in, I think it was 2003, China gets led into the World Trade Organization. And then what happened? The loss of manufacturing accelerated in this country. And yet a young man told me that bringing manufacturing back to this country is a bad thing. And he wholeheartedly believes that. I'm dumbfounded. I really am. I know I'm getting off topic and all, you know how I do. I just speak my mind, and I just go down avenues that probably don't mean nothing to most people, but I seen her interview this week with Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, people ain't, you don't really, she's not really like at the top of the headlines. Like Cash and Dan are at the top of the headlines because, uh, you know, uh, get back to that where they said, yeah, Epstein did kill himself. And then claiming all, MAGA conspiracy theorists can believe all they want, but it just ain't true. He did just kill himself. Okay. I say all the time, I'm one of those people that like to connect the dots. Okay. So moving a cellmate out of his cell that morning, okay, by itself, maybe not mean nothing. The cameras stopped working in that part of the prison. By itself, may not mean nothing. The guards fall asleep on the job. By itself, may not mean nothing. But yet Epstein knew exactly when to kill himself, anticipating that the guards were asleep. Okay, that by itself may not mean nothing. But you throw all of this together, and I say to Dan and Cash, bullshit. Not just bullshit, but bull motherfucking shit. Are you people, I mean, you sound like a Democrat trying to make us believe something that obviously you don't believe, because you can see it in your faces. Why are you lying to us? I mean, you're on board with saying that the election was stolen, but yet you can't say that Epstein didn't kill himself. Why? Who scared you? Because we all know that the network of the Epstein files, we all know it's some of the most rich and powerful people in the world, not this country, but the world. So who scared you? You know, so you think because you've been pro MAGA all this time that you making that statement, uh, all of a sudden, okay, yeah, okay, there's no story here, move on. It's us telling you this. You know, it's not a lefty telling you this. It's us. It's MAGA. It's Cash. It's Dan. We're telling you this, so you know you should believe it. Really, Dave. You know, I've heard that a lot. You don't. Yeah, you're saying you don't believe 100% that Epstein's dead, and that could be true. But he's such a well-known individual. How are they going to hide him? I mean, he would never be able to be seen in public again because he would be recognized. So they would have to do something to make him unrecognizable. You know, this is the modern day world of everybody has a, you know, the internet in their hand. And it's nothing to be, that person looks familiar. That looks like that Epstein guy. Let me Google him so I can see that picture. Boom. And then the story gets out. Now you could say, well, you know, Epstein and Elvis are hanging out together. I seen him at a McDonald's in Vegas about 3 months ago. You know, ordering a Big Mac and a large order of fries and a vanilla milkshake. Who knows? I think he is, his knowledge is, in my opinion, Dave, his knowledge is far too dangerous to leave alive. How Ghislaine Maxwell's still alive, I don't understand that. But you notice they ain't making her talk. They probably, she probably has spilled the beans about a lot, but they're acting like, you know, what are they doing with her? Y'all know I haven't really heard a whole lot about what they're doing with her. She has just as much information as he does. And then there's all the videotapes. Because this man learned from the best. He learned from Mossad and the CIA to record the evil doings of the rich and powerful to bring them to heel later for whatever purpose. Yeah, Dave, you're right. Mossad could make him unrecognizable, but did they really care enough about him to do that, or just kill him? I mean, look at the line of bodies behind the Clintons. You know, a dead witness is not a good witness. So I think it is far easier to just eliminate him than it would be to let him out there in the world, whether they did something to make him unrecognizable or what. And then if they did that, okay, so what are they doing with Ghislaine Maxwell? Are they gonna let her back out in the world. I mean, she has ties to Mossad stronger than he does because of her father. And of course, we all know how Epstein got started in this whole deal, don't we? Bill Barr's father, Trump's last attorney general, because his father gave Epstein a job as a teacher at school that he ran, and then his career blossomed from there. But Bill Barr never talks about that, does he? Suspect? Maybe. Who knows? We don't know shit. We ain't gonna know shit. Nothing's gonna happen to anybody. You know, Pam Bondi, what the fuck she doing? You know, she's running around with ICE and all these FBI agents. What's she doing out in the field? Doing these press conferences, doing these ride along, basically doing these busts on these illegal aliens and other people. Why ain't she in her office making sure that she does what she promised the American people? What she promised the president? But Cash and Dan promised those same things. That's why I say Tulsi looks to me like she's the only one bringing receipts, showing the behind the scenes stuff that went on that made parents domestic terrorists and conservative podcasters, up on the chopping block as a, enemy of the people. Most existential threat in America is MAGA. All the emails and the notes. She talks about this stuff that she's found. Cash and them don't talk about anything they found. See, Dave, I don't know if she's actually in prison. I don't know anything. That's what I mean. It just went silent, didn't it? Ghislaine Maxwell basically has just disappeared. It's almost like, you know how they do that? Ooh, watch this trick. Don't look over here. But see what's going on over here. Just keep your attention. And then she slides right out the back door. Because everybody's worried about Epstein. Nobody's worried about his partner in crime because they're not making a big deal about her. So they'll figure you'll forget about her. It's crazy. But I think Tulsi is doing what she promised she was going to do. I think RFK is doing what he promised he was going to do. Now, this young man I talked to yesterday even said RFK was a dangerous person. Didn't know what he was talking about. He's not a doctor. He's not a scientist. He's an anti-vaxxer. He just gave me every talking point that every mainstream media has said about RFK over the last year or so. And I tried to explain to him, you don't have to be the doctor. You just have to be the administrator. And he studied this stuff by holding these people accountable through lawsuits for decades. That he kind of knows what he's talking about. And of course, the young man told me that I'm just too old to see the truth. I said, really? It seems to me that with age comes a little wisdom. Because I've seen stuff you haven't, young man. I've experienced stuff you haven't. So, too old to see the truth. What does that even mean? I remember when my young ones were 18, and I used to tell them all the time, I wish I was as smart as you. Because you know how they're know-it-alls when they're 18, 17, 18 years old. They're just know-it-alls. And of course, most college kids are know-it-alls, and all their parents are criminals. because they believe in the American dream. So, but Epstein files have to be the greatest blackmail files ever created. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Masterfully done filming and documenting every little nasty, evil little thing these rich and powerful people done, and made them all think he was like their buddy the whole time. You know, being a networker. This guy over here or girl's got this fetish. This person over here has a similar fetish. Hey, I got a friend, man. You guys got a lot in common. Y'all should hook up and then we'll get you a party going together. You know what I'm saying? Let's go have a pizza party. That's so funny how they use that as like code. Remember that young man, because he believed the bullshit, went to that actual pizza store with a gun because he was trying to save children from being molested. Now, his heart was in the right place, but he obviously wasn't very bright. But it goes to show you how easy it is for some people to be manipulated. All that did was make it helped the left make the right look like lunatics. Like, oh yes, they've been telling you this stuff for decades, for years. And look, they got some young man trying to go to a pizza store to kill someone. There ain't no pizza parties going on. There ain't nobody drinking no children's blood. You know, a long, long time ago, Alex Jones did a little documentary, and I haven't seen it anywhere. I'm sure you can find. I think you could probably find it on X, uh, where he went to a a ritual, a resort type deal, uh, to where a lot of well known politicians, businessmen on the right and the left, world leaders, was at this little get together, and it was he described it as a satanic type ritual thing going on. You know, simulating he thought uh, human sacrifice and all this other stuff. You know, and I remember he said, I think he said even Carl Rhodes was there, but him and his person that went with him, the guy that was the camera guy, I think it was, were hiding under a porch because these people, I forget where it was, uh, you know, they all had cabins and stuff, and they were hiding under a porch, and he said what he seen scared the crap out of him so bad that all they wanted to do was get the hell out of there. They were done trying to do the documentary. They just wanted to get out of there. And you know, he's talked about this a few times over the decades. And you know, most people, you know, it's so funny how they claim Alex Jones is so extreme and off the walls, and then he's got a fairly decent record of being right in the end. I'd say he's at least got an 80%, you know, uh, being correct on what he talked about. Same thing with Trump. It seems like Trump always. The thing with Trump is that the delivery. People don't get his delivery. We understand his delivery, but a lot of people don't get his delivery. So he'll say something, and it'll sound crazy, and it won't make sense. And then 6 months or later, whatever it might be like, oh, Trump was right. You know, although he did it in a kind of a uh, bombastic way. I think I said that right. Uh, During the debate about eating the cats, eating the dogs, um, because he actually seen a report where somebody was saying that. Now the dogs, I don't think so. But we have plenty of uh, people who have an issue with the cats. You know, and our local politicians lying about it. and they're all laughing, saying Haitians don't do that. But yet you see documentary. I've seen at least 3 documentaries that were made a long time ago about the the Haitian religion and the ritual with cats. And in some parts of Haiti, you could buy a cat at the grocery store. And then the politicians over here laughed and chuckled at him. That don't happen. That is ridiculous. But it's not. Hang on, my dog. Get down, pup. So it happens. You live stream. You let your pets in the room. That's probably unprofessional. Let your animals in the room while you're live streaming. But that's me. But anyways, the way he said it kind of diminished the truth a little bit. But the thing is, he wasn't lying. But then it brought to light all the other stuff that was, was a bigger story, basically. The uh, temp services and the human trafficking and the bunkhouses, and how our local politicians don't ever convict any of these Haitians for any of the crimes that they do here, because they don't want them to get deported, because they're getting paid through these NGOs and this temp service and owning real estate and being part of the problem with the bunkhouses and stuff like that. So nobody disputes that. They still dispute the cat thing, which I don't understand why, because there's enough evidence out there, not necessarily video evidence here in town, but evidence that the Haitians do that. And it is the truth. But, always ends up being right in the end, doesn't he? For the most part, same as Alex Jones. Now, I'm saying I'm getting off topic again. I didn't really have a whole lot to talk about this morning. I just thought I'd get on here. I'm part of the Rumble partnership program, and I've met my minimum. This is all gravy from here. I just do it because I love it. Now, saying that, my viewer hours ain't up. Uh, I, I don't think I'm gonna hit my viewer hours, so I'll lose the partnership program for next month. But it's just fine. I don't do this just to be part of the partner program in Rumble. I do this because I apparently I just like to talk. You know what I'm saying. I just like to talk. That's why I do this. But I feel like I just need to speak, and we all like to make fun of current events and some of the stupid shit these politicians do, and some of the stupid shit these politicians do that make us angry. But it is what it is. And I'll do a Springfield Haitian update, which I said I started doing it at the end of every live stream, and my Facebook got blinked out, and I had to go in and ask them what the problem was, and all of a sudden, within 2 hours, I got my page back. Uh, I don't want to have a conspiracy theory on my Facebook page, but something happened there, and I had to uh, do a message to him to get it back on. Of course, as Dave knows, I have more than one Facebook page. I have the one that's personal, which I don't use, uh, but then I have my Empty Pockets one that I do use. And I don't put enough on there. And Dave, I'm going to improve on that. And I've also made a commitment to myself, pain or no pain. I'm going to spend one day a week in the garage to get my car content caught up, back on track, work my part-time job. I'm going to be part of a MAGA conservative network radio. I'm gonna have my own radio show, and I'm gonna do my Rumble premium content, and I'm also still on YouTube, Jimmy Pockets, to do the political stuff. But if you want people who watch me on Jimmy Pockets, you should. If you haven't downloaded Rumble, download it. If you want the real stuff, you'll find it. Content that you cannot view on YouTube, you will find it on Rumble. That's why I come to Rumble, to say what I want to say, because I'll have to go in and edit this live stream within 24 hours, or I'll get a strike or a warning or whatever, depends on what subject we talked about today that they didn't like, or I was sounding too aggressive, or I used too many cuss words. They always say something. It's crazy. But saying that, so our governor said recently that things are all back to normal in Springfield, Ohio. All back to normal. No. That's why I started doing these updates at the end of every live stream, because things are not back to normal here. We're getting as many accidents as we ever got. We're getting as many non-convictions of any crime that these Haitians have committed. This is all public record. They don't hide it. That's the sad thing about it. What I bring to you is public record. I don't bring you any scoop, any hidden documentation that nobody else has seen. It's public record. You know, they said violent crime is down in this area, but violent crime reports are up 337%. Just nobody gets charged for it. Nobody gets convicted of it. But the reports are skyrocketed, but nothing happens. So yeah, convictions are down in this town, but not the reports of violent crimes. We have a murder epidemic going on right now. And I was going to show you this, and I can't say it's the Haitians, but you know, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, well, it's usually dead because the Haitians have ate it. But let me share this little piece of information about the murder, non-murder go, because there is two official reports, and one has a lower number on it than actually true. And see if I bring it up, see if make sure Facebook don't kill me again. All right. So, murders in Springfield, 2024, confirmed 5, right? But yet it also says Springfield police confirmed 6. But we've done deep dives here, and there's actually 11 murders that was done. Now, saying that, since January, we've had multiple murders here, just since January. And I'll tell you why. So a lot of the Haitians self-deported themselves to other states. You know, there was a running joke around here that, you know, a local individual can't find a U-Haul because the Haitians rented them all because they're leaving town. But the Haitians that are left are the ones who are still working for the temp services and the gang. So the people who are trying to get refugee status that are employed, they're still here. And the worst of the worst are still here. The criminal element of the Haitian population is still here. And they're not going to go anywhere. They're not, you know, I pointed out, I've been saying for a long time, there's stash houses in this town. There was 2 of them to be known that we knew of, but we just didn't know where they was. Well, we knew one was on the south end and one was on the west end. Well, we found the one on the south end, and I reported on it on one of my live streams here in the last about a week ago. And hopefully we'll find the one on the west end. Now, ICE has been notified about the one on the south end, but so far nothing's been done. But I'll report on that if something does pop off on that. But these people are not going to go away. It's my dog's playing. It happens. But yeah, these people are not going to go away quietly. I've said it a long time ago. I said, when it comes down to the end, and these are the ones that they're coming after, there will be violence. There will be gunfights. Because these people are not going to leave quietly. That's just the way it is. So hopefully nobody innocent gets killed, but it is going to happen. So saying that, guys, I appreciate y'all stepping in, hanging out. I'm going to go and kick the shit out of my dogs. I'm kidding. I'm going to go pet them, strangle them a little bit, but pet them. And we have a puppy, and we have an old dog. And the puppy terrorizes the older dog. That's what's happening right now. She's so rowdy. She bounces off the walls. And the older dog is like, shut up and leave me alone. But that don't happen. It's the young preying on the old. It's ageism. It's bully. The little one's just a bully. But you'll have that with pets. So, anyways, I'm bringing my car content to my Rumble Premium. Starting this afternoon, I have to work today. So when I get done with work, I'm going to do my premium content this afternoon. So if any of you guys that have Rumble Premium and you don't have my car content over on YouTube, you're going to see it almost from the very first video, and you're going to see how amateurish I really am, because I did not know how to edit or anything back then. I didn't have an editor or nothing, didn't know how to do any of it. So it is like from beginning to end, a moron working on cars. The first couple, though, is a little body work, kind of paint kind of thing on some parts I did for a few friends in a local establishment. So they're small projects. That's how I started with small projects, and then I worked my way up to showing content on my actual car stuff. But saying that, eventually I'll get those played through on my premium channel, and then you'll start seeing my current content here. It'll probably take about, I'd say, 2 months, 3 months to get through my car content that I've had for years already. Sorry. So if you're interested in that, Empty Pockets Podcast, premium content, everything about paint, body, welding, small repairs, large projects, small projects. You'll be able to follow along with it as almost from the beginning to end, from where I started my YouTube channel till now. So I hope you enjoy that if you're into it. But saying that, you'll catch me here tomorrow about the same time. I'll be with Carl Saturday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Killer Carl, Free for All Saturday. And then you'll catch me Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then don't ever forget Movie Monday. I played Billy Jack this past Monday. The next one I'm playing is The Trial of Billy Jack. So if you like those older type movies like that, you'll enjoy it. So saying that, guys, thanks for stopping in. This is James. Give me a thumbs up. If you don't follow me, why not? What have I done to you? Have I pissed you off or something? Why ain't you following me? Think about that. Follow me. Till next time, guys. I'm out of here.